In Classic Era, which is the vanilla version of Classic, gold is important for most activities. This is the case for both leveling, gearing, and raiding at max level. Some players find this to be a chore, but I've always liked this aspect of the game and enjoyed farming gold during Classic in 2019, on my Warlock especially. I mostly sold world buffs, enchanted items, or farmed for rare drops, which are all great ways to make gold fast, but they require active gameplay, which has been more difficult to find now after COVID has ended. This is when I started utilizing leatherworking and tailoring for what is essentially passive gold generation. All I do now in order to farm gold is craft cured rocket hide and mooncloth, which generates around 250 gold for me each day. I do this by using my 5 characters to each craft cured rocket hide every 3rd day and mooncloth every 4th day. Cured rocket hide is a leatherworking recipe that becomes available at a leatherworking skill of 250. It requires 1 rocket hide, which I buy for a few silver apiece, and 1 refined deep rock salt, which I make. The refined deep rock salt is made from a deep rock salt, which I buy for next to nothing, usually less than 10 silver each, and it also requires the salt shaker item. The salt shaker item refines the cheap deep rock salt, turning it into the valuable refined deep rock salt. The item does initially cost a fair amount of gold, but once you have it, you can use the same one forever. Also, it should be noted that the item is not soulbound, so you can send it to other characters that has a leatherworking skill of 250 or more, which can save you some gold, but I do recommend just buying one for each of your characters, as it saves a lot of time. The salt shaker item has a cooldown of 3 days, which means that you can only craft 1 cured rocket hide every 3rd day. The second profession that I utilize is tailoring, which I also have on all of my 5 crafting characters. Here I craft mooncloth, which requires a tailoring skill of 250 and turns 2 fellcloth into 1 mooncloth. Fellcloth usually cost a few gold each, which makes this the most expensive material that I use. This recipe has a cooldown of 4 days. And additionally, you will need to be standing on a moonwell, which is not a problem for Alliance players as there is one in Stormwind, but Horde players have it a little harder as the closest moonwell to Orgrimmar is located out in the forest of Ashenvale. Druids can teleport to Moonclade and make them there, which makes the druid class ideal for farming this on a horde character. Between buying materials as well as crafting and selling both cured rocket hide and mooncloth, I spend a total of around 20 minutes of game time every week. The cured rocket hide sells for around 110 gold each, while mooncloths sell for just 60 gold each. Weekly, this generates around 1.7 thousand gold after material expenditure, as well as the auction house fee, seeing as I usually just post it there, although sometimes I do sell it in trade chat. In order to craft these items at a skill level of 250 in both tailoring and leatherworking, the character needs to be at least level 35. I imagine most players have a few characters at or above level 35, which can be used to craft these recipes. Leveling both professions up to a skill of 250 can be a little bit pricey, but it is a worthwhile investment in my opinion, as it does not take long to make it back using this strategy. While it does vary with chance, you will likely need to gather the materials shown here in order to reach 250 in both professions. Feel free to pause the video. I have also put links to leveling guides for both leatherworking and tailoring down in the description, which you can use if you like. While leatherworking beats everything else by a lot, you could swap out tailoring in favor of alchemy, which lets you craft arcanite bars every 2nd day. From what I've seen so far, the gold generation is about the same, sometimes slightly higher than tailoring, the downside being that the materials used are very expensive. So if you're risk neutral and don't want to travel out to a moonwell every time you craft, alchemy is a valid option instead of tailoring. Neither option comes close to leatherworking though. There is also a guide on how to level up alchemy in the description below. The good thing about crafting useful trade items is that you are less impacted by inflation, as you can always choose to keep the materials if you don't need the gold right away. When the hardcore realms are released, I imagine this to be a very efficient gold farm, which will allow you to generate gold consistently, safely, and without much effort. I hope that you found this video useful, and thank you for watching.